throw this question out immediately. You know, the differentiation of and the way the world's turned and your occupation now. Are there aspects of not that you need to get into your work at all, but are there aspects of your work where you could say, man, like, had I thought about this when I was, 15, 16, getting into graph, that the world would be the way it is now for you? Could you imagine that journey? Like, it must be quite a trip.
No, it was when I was 15 or 16 and writing, or just getting started. That was the very early days. That was where the seeds were getting planted. But I wasn't thinking about anything back then. I wasn't thinking about anything. It was just day at a time. I was starting to get into graph, starting to get into hip hop, and that was all I cared about. And then that was the beginning. And it all came from there, and it's just changed and evolved as I've got older. Look at things very, very differently now. Of course, a lot of stuff's happened in the last 30 years. But no, back then, definitely not thinking about much at all. And especially as I started to get a bit older, 17, 18, 19, just absolutely graffiti obsessed.
Graffiti obsessed. For those of you who don't know, let's just give me up to speed here. For those of you who don't know about the Rench man, former heavy artillery, most certainly holding it down. All-rounder, bombing.
Yeah, definitely.
Trains,
definitely.
Walls. Hall of Fames, all over the shop.
Everything, travelling about, going to different countries. Yeah, tracks, trains, walls, you name it.
Yeah, you really embraced the whole 360 circumference.
Yeah, because to me, that was what it was all about. That was what the illegal thing was, what sort of attracted me to it in the first place. When I saw writers round my way, the people that sort of inspired me, I used to get the train to school every day. It was only like a couple of stops, but that was when I first started noticing dubs and tags. This is sort of like 1990, and I was just like, what's going on there? What's going on there? And at the same time, I was getting into hip hop and seeing, they used to have the Peace Book section in the back of Hip Hop Connection.
But biblical, that.
Yeah, that was what got so many people into it. Yeah. And it was sort of just starting to join the dots together, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then one day, we arrived at the station. I used to get off after school, and it had been absolutely obliterated.
Who was the writers?
Well, this was just a local crew called KAS. I mean, most people would never have heard of them unless you were from my neck of the woods, and they weren't really doing burners or full colour pieces or anything. They were literally a crew of bombers and dub trackside writers. But they had done dubs over the whole station, throw-ups over the whole station, and I was just like, wow, that is amazing. I want to go, And it was literally, that was one of the big spark. It was like, right, I'm going to get some paint.
Wow.
And, I think I bought my first couple of cans because I didn't even really know about racking. I didn't even know about subway art and spray can art at that point. And then a couple of, I started doing tags around my area and my school, and then a couple of other kids found out, oh, that's him doing it, and they come, oh, is that you doing those tags? I was like, yeah, it's me, yeah. Oh, yeah, have you got subway art? And I was like, no, what's subway art?
Oh, that's amazing, okay.
I didn't have a clue, there wasn't really any major graph around my area. There was bits and pieces, but it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't like being in central London or even Brighton or Bristol,
Yeah, you had to find it.
You had to find it, yeah. So there was stuff on the tracks, and later on I found out that there had been a Hall of Fame in Reading in the sort of late 80s, but I'd never been there.
What was the name of that?
That was called Meadway, and that was where like Kiwi and the Parkside Kings used to paint.
Oh, tight.
DRA, Death Row artists, TZC, Twilight Zone crew, who are good friends of mine.
This is fucking incredible, because this is like these like names that just have not come up on the podcast before.
No, they won't.
That's fire. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, there was loads of stuff, and these people, some of them weren't anything ever more than local writers, but they still inspired a generation. They inspired me, and they, I've then maybe gone on to inspire other people as well, and there's a really healthy scene in the area that I live in, and that's thanks to Kiwi and the Parkside Kings and DRA and TZC and whoever else, you know. But it's a good place to live. It's a good place to do graph, you know. But I'd say a lot of stuff's happened over the years. But the main sort of catalyst for me was when a good friend of mine, moved to the area, and he was only 6 months or so older than me. But I say I still didn't really know what I was doing, and he moved to the area, and he had come from PWS territory.
Okay.
And he wasn't in PWS at that point, but he knew all of those guys, and he'd been mentored, and he knew how to do a piece, you know, and he knew how to do track sides and blah, 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 which I didn't know. And one day I was walking home from school and I had my tag blatantly all over my bag, like school kids do. You know, and the same tag that was all over the town.
Yeah.
And he's just come up behind me and gone, "Hello, you're so-and-so, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah, who are you?" And he was like, "I'm so-and-so." And I was like, "Oh, right, you did that and you did that." And he was like, "Yeah, man, that's me." He's going, "You want to go and do a piece sometime?" And I was like, "Oh, I've never done a piece." And he was like, "Okay."
So how old were you at this time?
I think I was about 16.
16.
Maybe just turned 16, just gone into the 5th year, or year 11, or they call it now, don't they?
Yeah.
Just gone into the 5th year at school. And so he was a bit older than me, and he was at his first year at a local college. And this guy's a respected writer in his own right. This is the guy, I might as well say who he is. People can probably work it out, but you might not know. This is the guy who was Hook's TPG.
Fuck! That's cool. TPG? Hooks? Come on.
Yeah, the original TPG. When it was those four. You know, I'm not going to start dropping loads of names. We all know.
So I'll pick them up later.
But that was the guy, you know. And he's a good friend of mine. We live in different parts of the country now, and we don't see each other like we used to. But he was my main writing partner, racking partner, and just smoking partner for years, you know. For a long, long time, you know.
Man, that's crazy that talk about, you know, two worlds coming together. That must, when you think about that now, that must actually blow your mind that somebody that was prolific as that, you guys kind of bucking together and the combination.
So he wasn't Hooks at that point.
Okay.
You know, that was probably 3 or 4 years later.
Right, so this was like the formative.
Yeah,
stages.
he had several names before that, and he's had several names since as well, you know. And top bloke, you know, top writer, really unique style, you know, taught me so much. Like, really good, real good pal of mine. We got caught together. We went to prison together for doing trains, and we got a lot of history. And we used to inspire each other, you know, as you do when you've got a sort of, we're like, you know, when you've got a Starsky and Hutch kind of writing duo.
Yeah.
And that's what we were, you know.
Shining Quest, hold touch Shining Quest. When as
big
soon as
up
you said
Shining
that, I
Quest,
thought that immediately.
But, you know, Rench and Hooks for years, and Rench and lots of his other names that, you know, because I've always been Rench, you know, since 1993. I think I've been Rench.
Damn, that's a while, man. Yeah. It's good.
But it was, you know, it was mad. You know, when we got caught, you know, we had a court case that was going on for 11 months while BTP got their case together and everything. But we were so, as I was saying before about being obsessed and addicted to graph, we were so obsessed now at that point. It didn't even matter that we were on bail for serious criminal damage, you know, on bail to Crown Court and everything. We just carried on. We just changed our tags and carried on. We were doing trains, track sides, bombing insides the whole time while we were still on trial, because we were like 18, 19 years old and just didn't give a shit.
That's dedication. Know? What's the theory on that? Is that in retrospect, now you can think about it from
now I look at it and I think, fucking hell, that was mental. That's stupid, you know.
You're out of your mind.
I even got caught. I got caught bombing Wimbledon train station, like during that period as well. But they didn't. For somehow, you know, somehow the police, they don't link things together sometimes. So I was on bail for graffiti. They never even linked it up with that. I got caught. It was on camera. Couldn't get away with it. Went to court. Got a fine. Bang. and just changed my tag again, and then
Jesus.
carried on, you know. And then
don't-
eventually we got sentenced. We got 8 months sentences, did 4 months inside, and then just came out and carried on again.
I want to ask you what jail was like at that particular time of your life and in the decade it was. But what goes... I mean, this is why I think graph writers, you know, not the street artists, we're talking about the hardcore, you're wired in a certain way, man.
Yeah.
It's and I say that with all the, you know, affection in the world. It's only through these podcasts that I recognise this. I've learned a lot, and one thing I still cannot... There's a hump I can't get over, and that is if you're already being punished, you carry on. Is that like salting a wound, or is that just feeding the beast?
It was neither, really. We just didn't care. Just didn't care. It didn't matter. The only thing that I hated about being inside was how much it hurt my family. Because, you know, I'm not from the hood. I'm from a nice family, parents with respectable jobs. My mum goes to church and all that kind of stuff. And that was the only thing that I found hard about it. But again, I was just a bit of a selfish teenager. And even though I just carried on, I thought, as long as I don't get caught again and she doesn't find out, everything will be all right. Because that's that sort of young mindset, isn't it? You know,
Immortality.
That immortal mindset.
Yeah.
Later on, you know, my attitudes have changed to graph over the years as I've got into other things and whatever. Because I've dipped in and out as well. You know, there's been a period where, well, several times where I've given up for a year, not intentionally. Pardon me. Other things have come along.